Very good morning. Thank you very much, TEDx, for inviting me for today's talk. And as we are going to discuss about painting portraits in life. So how to paint the portrait. Who has ever painted a portrait in your life, maybe during your school days or college days? Raise your hand. Okay, most of you are quite detached. But yes, we do paint a portrait in our lives. Yes, it happens. So before anything gets onto the canvas, first the painting is made in the mind. In case the painting is clear in the mind, then painting comes to the canvas. So that means anything which comes in the gross form, first it comes in subtle form. So that means subtle is more important than gross. Just like in a computer system, we have hardware and we have software. Although both of them are important, but out of the two, software is more important. In case the software is made up of virus, then hardware would facilitate spreading of the virus. So that's why software is more important. So before painting the portrait of life, it is very important that there should be clarity in the mind. Mind should be clear. And that's when in English we say, mind your own business. We never say body your own business. Because out of the two, although both of them are important, the body and the mind, but mind is certainly is more important. ज़्यादा important क्या है? मन. इसलिए मन को संभालना ज़रूरी है. We should take care of the mind. So in a portrait, we make various things. We project our ideologies, our thoughts, our ideas onto the portrait. We do that. Once there was a king and he wanted the portrait to be made which describes peace. So many paintings came and finally he chose two paintings. One painting described peace, that there is a river and there are mountains and there is sunshine, the birds are chirping, and then there is a hut and there is one guy sitting very peacefully. Peace. And there was another painting which was chosen. And there was thunderbolt, there were clouds, it was all very dark, and there were whirlpools in the river. So it was all very dark. And then there was one guy sitting, and this is peace. So out of the two pictures, which one you would choose describing peace rightly? The first one, raise your hand. Okay, second one. Raise your hand. Okay, 50-50. But the king chose the second one. That means when the surroundings are peaceful, then you can pose yourself to be peaceful. But when surroundings are not so peaceful, yet you are peaceful, that's real peace. So when we have the spiritual content in our life, then although there are surroundings and they're not so favorable, they're not so pleasant, yet because we are having spiritual content in our life, we can be peaceful. Like say for example, somebody gets a pimple and some well-wisher comes and does boogly woogly whoosh. Don't you have manners? So what? I just did boogly woogly whoosh. Oh, I got pimple, you know. So what caused pain? The boogly woogly whoosh or my pimple? Difficult question. Okay, who says that it was boogly woogly whoosh? Raise your hand. Oh, who believes that it was actually because of the pimple? It is not the boogly woogly whoosh. Yes, all of you are right. So many a times we are affected by our own egos, the pimple. And then slight boogly woogly whoosh, and then we are disturbed, we are agitated. Yes. So that's why to have the cleansing, that's so important. In the way that when our egos are cleansed, then we are not disturbed by our surrounding. Like there is saying, when we do not have spiritual content in our life, when we do not have spiritual content, spiritual substance in our life, then we are slaves of our surrounding. So there is one thing which is known as manasthiti, another is paristhiti. So manasthiti is a state of mind, and the state of existence is known as paristhiti. So out of the two, which is more important? Manasthiti or paristhiti? The state of mind or state of existence? the state of mind is more important. So that's why that clarity should be there. So usually when people make their portraits or paintings, so green color plays very vital role in portraits. So what brings green color in a portrait? The trees, the grass, that actually brings green color to the portrait. So grass represents humbleness. Whenever there are tornadoes, and at that time the grass bends down. And then as soon as the tornado is gone, and then the grass is raised. So very important part in our life, in case we want a very beautiful portrait, then we should have the humbleness. Greater the humbleness, more beautiful we are. But nowadays we see that this attribute of humbleness is such a rare commodity. Such a rare commodity. Like they are saying, when people are just having talent, they are arrogant. But in case they have talent plus good attitude, then they are malleable, then they are flexible. But talent plus good attitude plus good character makes you trustworthy. That's sufficient? Well, more is required. When we have talent plus good attitude plus good character plus blessings, that makes us capable. So that's why not just talent is sufficient. It is very important that we should have the humbleness to take care of that talent as well. So from the blade of grass, we learn humbleness. From the trees, we learn tolerance. Yes. So we should also have tolerance. Nowadays, it is educated systematically. Why should we tolerate? Why? But excuse me, somewhere somebody has tolerated us, and that's why we are growing. So we are to tolerate. And when we tolerate out of love, that is the best. So we learn from the trees tolerance. Also, in the trees, there are roots, there is a stem, and there is a crown. Out of the three, which is more important or most important? The roots. अपना हाथ लीजिए इस तरह से, ये हाथ लीजिए. Everyone, take their hand like this. अब मेरे पीछे बोलिए. जिनके roots अच्छे होते हैं, उनके fruits अच्छे होते हैं. जिनके roots अच्छे होते हैं. Everyone यार. जिनके roots अच्छे होते हैं, उनके fruits अच्छे होते हैं. बोलो तारा रारा. So we should focus on roots. Although roots are not visible, but they are very, very important. So what are the roots? When we are trying to make portrait of our life, we should focus on roots. And roots means we should have some solid, substantial spiritual practices in life. The stem represents our physical well-being. We should have good health. That's also very, very important. So that is represented by the stem. And then there is crown. So crown means the contributions which we give to the society. That's the crown. But in case the roots are drying up, the stem is weak, can we give any contribution to society? No. So often people are concerned about the contributions, the fame, the popularity. But excuse me, sir, are you working on your roots? That's very important. Now, there is one thing which is known as private victory, and there is public glory. So people want public glory. People should know us. People should come to me, have selfies with me. But excuse me, sir, there is one thing which is more important than public glory, and that is private victory. Nobody sees private victory. When we battle with our own selves, when we battle with our lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, illusion, ego, when we fight with all of that, nobody is watching. But private victory gives us the strength that we can handle public glory. So that means it is very, very vital. It's very important. Also in a portrait, we have the sun. Sun is very important as well in the portrait. What does the sun do? The sun sanctifies the whole thing. So our life is sanctified by sun. Sun, what does the sun mean? Sun means our own perseverance, our own internal purity. The sun. Our own integrity. Just like sun may purify the dirt, but the sun doesn't get contaminated by the dirt. It purifies the dirt, but sun is not contaminated. Similarly, when we have some solid spiritual practices in our lives, then what happens? that all the contaminations are removed, and then we are saved. We become sparkling, effulgent, illustrious, just like the sun. Just like when the spark is near the fire, it illuminates. When the spark goes away from fire, it extinguishes. Similarly, more we are closer to the grace of God, more we shine, more we are away from the grace of God. Then we need fair and lovely. Then we need fair and handsome, because I'm not so illustrious. I'm morose. And morose means I'm weak. Because the very nature of life which God has created, the nature of life is that life is joyful. But we see that people are not so joyful. They are so hollow and shallow nowadays because they're not working on their roots and they're not really filling themselves completely. So from the sun, we learn that we should be so strong in our integrity that I may help someone, I may deal with somebody's negativity, yet I should not get affected. Just like the sun remains unaffected. So we learn in the portrait of life from the sun that substantiality, that integrity, dam, that's required. Okay, in a portrait, what else do we have? We have got rivers. Yes. What do we learn from the rivers in the portrait of life? We learn from the rivers flexibility. In case there is a mountain standing next to the river doesn't say, I will flow only from this way. Equal rights. How come mountain, you are standing here? I will pass from this way. Well, mountain says, I can't move, baby. No, you decide. No. I will pass from only this way. Then what will happen to river? Can river reach the ocean by this attitude? Of course not. So what do we learn from rivers? Is flexibility. Okay, sir, you are stubborn. I am not stubborn. I will move this way, that way. In this way, the river meets the ocean. Similarly, in case we want to be happy, in case we want to be successful in life, we should learn to be malleable, flexible. And this way we keep flowing and then we can reach our destination. And in case we become stubborn, सर कटा सकते हैं लेकिन सर झुका सकते नहीं, तो सर आपका सर जरूर कटेगा सर. ये कभी कभी सर झुकाना भी जरूरी होता है. This shows flexibility in attitude. Like when COVID came, we were bound to be flexible. Sir, bow down. And that's the way to live life. So we learn from rivers that. Also, rivers, they get distributed into various tributaries so that it can give its water to various different places. Similarly, we should also be sharing what we have. That's also very important. When we share, then we become Babbar share. We should share. Like there is one river, which is the river of Galilee. And there is also another ocean which is known as the Dead Sea. Both of them, they receive their waters from Jordan River. So Jordan divides into two parts. One is the river of Galilee, another is the Dead Sea. So there is flora and fauna in the river of Galilee. But in the Dead Ocean, there is no life, no flora and fauna. Why? Because river of Galilee distributes its water to various other tributaries so that people can take benefit from the river. In this way, there is fresh water in the river of Galilee. But in the Dead Ocean, there is no life. Why? Because it does not distribute. Why to give? So there is so much saltiness in that Dead Ocean that there is no question of life in it. Similarly, in case we want in our lives that we should remain refreshed, ever fresh, rejuvenated, then we should share. Just like Jordan River is giving water to both of them, similarly, all of us receive the grace from the one Supreme Lord. But what do we do with that grace? That's very important. Are we keeping whatever talents and resources which God has given to us only to our own selves? Or are we giving it to others as well? We are sharing it with others. So we should share as well. That is also what we learn from the river. Also in the rivers there are fishes. So there are fishes on the surface and there are fishes which are there underneath. So in case there is a thunderbolt which falls on the river, so will that kill all the fishes or some of the fishes or none of the fishes? Let me check your physics understanding. what will happen to the fishes in case fishes are there in the river and there is thunderbolt which falls on the river? Okay, option A, none of the fish dies. Raise your hand. I'm checking your physics understanding. Okay, option B, all the fishes will die. Raise your hand. Okay, third, some of the fishes will die. Okay, so which fishes will die? Those which are there on the surface. Those who are there underneath in the depth, they would not die. So similarly, when we live very wishy-washy life, show-off wala life, on the surface, that's it. Then when the thunderbolt of negativity, difficult times, when they attack, then we cannot handle. But those who are in the depths of lives, then they can be saved. So that's why it is very, very important to bring that depth in our lives. And for that, we should spend time with our own selves. That's very important. That's very important. So we learn from the river as well as the fishes. This is very, very important lesson. Also, we see that in a scenery, there are bees and there are also flies. So bees, they sit on flowers. And the dirt fly, it sits on the dirt. So in case you see both of them, which of the two are more desirable? Certainly honeybees, because they sit on flowers. So it's our choice where we sit on. That means where we dwell. In terms of our consciousness, where do we really dwell? Are we dwelling on to the good qualities of the people or bad qualities? Or in our own lives as well. There are good things also in our lives, there are bad things in our lives. Where do we dwell? But since the nature of mind is that we naturally dwell into something which is negative. Just like when soft is stuck somewhere. So again and again the tongue goes to that particular part of the mouth, right? Similarly, where there is difficulty, again and again the mind goes there. But there are many positive things as well which God has blessed upon us. We should dwell onto that. So in this way, in this portrait of life, we have many lessons to learn, and when we do that rightly, we can be happy and we can make a very beautiful portrait in our lives. So I wish you all the very best in making a beautiful, gorgeous, admiring portrait in your lives. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.